Okay, and we're live. So, welcome to another one of our swim hangouts. Let's see if we get the same amount of people showing up, commenting, and participating as the last time. So far, we have nobody here yet. There's the first one. Okay, I'm relieved. Whenever I see this, I just want to make sure that we are actually live, and that's important. And that everybody can see it. So everything is set up correctly. And yeah, then without any further ado, let's hop in today's stream. This one may be a little bit shorter than the last ones, but nonetheless, I think it's an important topic. And we're talking about strength training for Ironman swimmers today. Going to have a little bit of a look into what the less experienced swimmers can do also, but in general we're talking about strength training for the serious triathlete who wants to break an hour, break 55 minutes, maybe even break 50 minutes for the 3.8k open water swim. Okay, that being said, same start as always. Who is this guy? For those who've never been here, my name is Jan Wolfgarten. I am the founder of this amazing university, won international medals in pool and open water swimming, broke 3 German records, won a lot of medals at German nationals, was an NCAA All-American, Florida Gator alumni, class of 2006. I coached Sebastian Kienle while he was on his way of winning 2,400 Kona World Championship. I coached Andreas Waschburger to his world record in English Channel and to his numerous world records and titles in the ice swimming also. And I built many elite young swimmers from youth level to German elite and even international elite. And I'm here to help you figure out distance freestyle swimming. Again, I'm not saying this to bang my chest and tell you how great I am. There are lots of people who are way better than me in the swimming. I'm retired for a long time who were a lot better than me in swimming. But I just want to let you guys know that I really know what I'm talking about. I'm an expert in the field and I'm sure that I can help you out. Okay, with that out of the way, the next one is what's going to be coming up here on this channel. This is also for those of you who are here regularly, nothing new. Right now we have a weekly live stream just like this one. I added the Tuesday as well. So we have not 1 but 2 live streams. So that's new. My focus is on teaching rather than entertainment. That being said, I'm trying to be entertaining at the same time. And my goal is to make it easy for you guys to understand this stuff. My goal here is not to throw around big words and to make it super complicated and to write down the fanciest sets in the world only to look cool. That's not my idea. My idea is to get this information across to you in a way that you can actually do something with it and maybe improve immediately at home. And yeah, okay. This is what we've done in the last weeks. And today is live session number 6, where we're talking about strength. And yeah, without any further ado, let's have a look. What is strength training for Ironman swimmers? And first of all, some comments. Ali Gun is saying, good evening back. WAM says, hi Jan, ich wollte dir sagen, dass es mich ehrlich sehr freut, dass du nach längerer Zeit wieder regelmäßig Videos bringst. Deine Tipps haben mir sehr viel geholfen. That's very nice to hear. I appreciate these comments a lot. Thank you so much. So translated to English is, would like to just drop by and say that's very happy he or she that I'm back and that I'm making videos again. And yeah, I'm really happy to hear this. And I really mean this. And I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. So I'm going to stay. I'm committed. I'm doing this all by myself now. And yeah, I'm enjoying it. So thank you so much for your comment. Okay, so what is strength training for Ironman swimmers? Yeah, I think the first thing to get this out of the way is we're not looking at any sort of land training right now in this presentation, because I think the audience here is busy enough with riding a bicycle, running and swimming. And I'm going to talk about this in later slides, but I think it's vastly underestimated how complex it really is to put together good strength and conditioning training that complements a distance swimmer. Very difficult. I can talk from experience. What's definitely not working is going hard in the water with volume and working out hard in the weight room. It's certainly going to crash. I've been there myself. If done correctly, it can have amazing benefits and can be very, very good. But I think to stay on the safe side of things, I think it's best to just not do it at all. I think you're plenty fine with working on your strength in the water and focusing on actual swimming rather than bench pressing and breaking records there. And therefore, with that out of the way, we're talking about only the stuff that you can do in the water. Almost all methods are centered around increased drag while swimming. Okay, I mean, basically we can ask ourselves how we can do strength training in the water. And number one, we can increase the drag. This can be done, for example, by wearing a t-shirt, by pulling a parachute, by wearing drag socks, you can get very creative there. Just make your life harder while you swim. Okay, and the other option that we have is we can increase the surface area of our hands or our feet. Basically, we can wear paddles or we can wear fins. Okay, the bigger area we have on our hands and our feet requires more strength to move our hands through the water while we pull. Okay, and then we have option A, which is an increase in drag. We have option B, which is harder to pull or to kick by using fins, paddles, drag socks, etc. Or we have option C, where we're combining the two. And that's basically what we can do while working on our strength in the water. There are other options what you could do. You can do mix things, but I said I'm not going to talk about land training, but you could, for example, do 10 times 100 freestyle where you get out on the other side, do 10 push-ups, jump right back in and swim again. This would be almost like a hybrid kind of method, but yeah, not the topic for today. And then finally, a good old-fashioned butterfly set. I mean, this is stuff that, for those of you who can swim butterfly, it always helps. Swimming butterfly is good for freestylers. Shouldn't do it all the time, but it's one of the best ways to work on your general strength in your freestyle stroke. Okay, and some examples for swimmers. I mean, these slides could go on and on and on. I try to keep it simple. For example, like an interval pulling set, 8 times 400 pull with paddles. Those would be for pretty advanced athletes. Then something like 12 times 50 with a parachute. This line reads very easy, but it is really not easy at all. For those of you who tried swimming with a parachute before, and by the way, who doesn't know what parachute we're using here, just type it into Amazon or whatever. Do the Finis parachute. I'm just going to write it in the chat real quick for those of you if you want to look for that. Finis parachute. Go for the red one. Okay. Why the red one? Because the other one is just too big. If you go for the gray one, it's massive. The red one will keep you plenty busy, and you can find it anywhere, Amazon, whatever, you're going to find it. And then, for example, 12 times 50 butterfly, also tough set. Those of you who are not that trained in butterfly yet, you can use fins. And then here, creative stuff, for example, 8 times 100, 4 times with the t-shirt and pedals. And then after 4, you take the t-shirt off and you put fins. And then you have a very nice contrast of, on the one hand, working a lot with resistance. And then on the other hand, substituting and working with more speed and still working really nicely on strength. And you can basically be very creative, do a lot of stuff. And is this on the next slide? It's coming a little bit later. But what I was going to say is keep in mind that in the beginning, for beginners, the focus should not necessarily be on developing tons of strength. For those of you who are starting out and you're watching anyways, you should focus a lot on your technique. Okay, the strength is not our primary focus in the beginning of your swimming journey. In the beginning of your swimming journey, you want to understand how to get a breath when you try to. You want to understand how to position your body properly in the water, and you want to master the technique first. Okay, after that, you can add strength. Think about it like this. When you're building a car, you are starting out with the car itself and not with a massive engine. Okay, the strong engine comes all the way in the end. And that's very similar in the pool. The car needs to be able to drive straight before you add an engine. And that's how it works for us too. General thoughts. Later on, strength is actually a very, very important and key component in swimming. I think a lot of you, who knows the feeling of that you swim and it feels like you could go faster. Your heart rate's not very high, but you just cannot go faster because you cannot add more power into the water. I think a lot of people here can relate to that. And that's probably a sign that you're not working on your strength enough while you swim. Most all of you have a very big engine. By that, I mean that you have a very low heart rate, at least decent VO2 max. You have well-developed lung capacities and all of that stuff. Just by your general endurance is amazing if you're a triathlete. But what we're lacking often is specific endurance and the necessary strength. And unfortunately, if you want to put together a great performance, you need everything. You cannot be just great in one area and weak in the others. It's not going to work. In swimming, you need everything. Just a great general base endurance is nice to have. It's going to make training easier. It's going to speed up your recovery. And it's going to be a good base. But if you're lacking strength and specific endurance, I don't need to tell you guys, you know all of this. And another general thought that's very important is you need to hold your technique together while working in strength. If we go back here, all of these sets basically are very nice to do and they're very effective, but they're meaningless if you break your stroke. Say you do 8 400s with pulling with paddles and you are not strong enough or the paddles are too big and you're shortening your stroke and you're following all the way through with your pull, then you are actually getting worse as a swimmer. You might develop a little bit of strength, but you're worsening your technique. And then you have net lost. Okay? The idea of the set is that we're gaining. But if you're swimming it and you do it with a weak technique, it's not going to do anything for you. So it needs to be executed properly. Okay, so hold your technique together while working in strength. I said in the beginning, focus on doing your strength work in the pool. The reason is strength and conditioning on land, like I said before, is highly complex. And Anya, great that you're watching. I really improved with help of your training plans so far. Hard work. Great. Yeah, Anya is a longtime member and probably the most loyal members of all of them. So special thank you for you, Anya, for always being there. And thanks for your comment. And back to the general thoughts. Yeah, I think there's something to be said for following a program that is easy to understand and easy to execute. That doesn't mean that the training plan is easy, but something that is easy to understand and easy to execute on a daily basis, because that guarantees consistency. And consistency is ultimately what guarantees improvement and eventually reaching goals. What I say by that is, if you were to add, today only has 24 hours. And if you are cycling on a high level, running on a high level, swimming on a high level, and then naturally, eventually, almost everybody within a season has a little bit of an inflammation or a little bit of an injury, and then you have to deal with that. And then if you also have to add in a strength and conditioning workout, it's, in my opinion, it's too much, and it's very, very difficult to get all of this done. Now, if you are listening to this and you're a professional triathlete, by all means, I think there can be great benefits if it's done correctly. But again, my recommendation is don't underestimate how complex this really is. Because especially for the men out there, if you go hard in the weight room, it takes a long time to recover, a very long time to recover. And then you have to ask yourself, is the one weight room session really worth sacrificing the 3 key training sessions. By key, I mean swimming, running, cycling, that follow thereafter? I don't know. It's up to you and your coach to decide. I know the answer for most of my people. But yeah, I'm like I said, if you do it really, really well, it can be a game changer. But I think a lot of people underestimate how hard this really is to do it properly. Okay, but I don't want to go. Otherwise, I start rambling, and I'm going to talk about 15 minutes just about that one topic, and just take it home, or take home with you that it is very, very difficult to do a good weight training program for a long distance triathlete. And the reason is it's very tough to recover. It's very tough to add it into your time management, and yeah, it makes the whole thing extremely more complex. Okay, another slide with what do we keep in mind? Technique. I already talked about that. It's important to keep your technique together. Strength is not the focus for beginners, but more and more so later on. I touched on this previously also a little bit. If you're just starting out with freestyle, don't need to worry about pedals. Don't need to worry about swimming with a t-shirt. You're probably very happy if you just get from point A to point B without drowning. And that's the good thing. You need to focus strictly on mastering how to swim. But then once you get better, and that's our audience here mostly, once you have high goals and you really want to swim a 3.8K, preferably in Hawaii and preferably under an hour, maybe even under 55 minutes, then it really becomes an issue to be strong. And again, I think a lot of people underestimate how big of a role this really plays. I think it's very easy to open up YouTube, watch Lucy Charles swim and think, oh, she's just a light, long distance athlete who swims with a high stroke rate. Yes, all true, but I guarantee you that this lady is adding and powering through quite a bit of strength sets within her distance program. Guarantee you. Because she has a long distance background, also a elite national pool swimmer back in the day in England, and it's just stuff that's part of the regime, just how it works. Another thing that we need to watch out for is pain. By pain, I mean all of the stuff that I talked about is putting extra stress, losing my voice, on our joints, mainly the shoulder joints. So act accordingly. By that, I mean, if you know your shoulder is already in pain, do your pulling sets without pedals. Of course, you're not going to develop your strength quite as well when you leave the pedals out, but it's better to maintain for a little bit than being out for weeks. Okay, so you need to be a little bit clever there. You need to listen to your body, and if your shoulder is hurting, you need to tone it back on the strength sessions. This is very important because a lot of people really destroy their shoulders with this kind of stuff. Okay, and from my experience with my athletes, just leaving out the pedals for a little bit usually cures the shoulder pain already. Okay, other than icing it, Advil, warming up prior, all of that stuff is a different topic, but just leaving out the pedals alone will make a big difference already. So keep that in mind. Do not swim through pain when you have pedals on. Okay. Then another thing is keep the sets a little bit shorter than the aerobic interval sets. In general, the 8x400 pull, if it's just a long set with pulling, they can get very long. But in general, the main reason is what I talked in the line above is the stress that you add to your joints. You need to be careful. If you do strength sets, they should not be as long as the tough sets that you're doing without equipment, because there is additional strain on not just your joints, also on your muscles. Okay, so while most of the time your heart rate is not quite as high, the stress on your muscular system and on your joints and ligaments is a lot higher. And therefore, we need to shorten the sets a little bit, and it's going to be just fine. And then finally, I would say strength once per week is a good rule of thumb. It obviously depends on how often you go swim. I always recommend, if you want to achieve something in swimming and if you want to continue to grow and reach your goals, you should be going 4 times a week as a triathlete. And if you're only doing twice, then maybe every other week adding a strength based training session would be enough. Continued this is always, I mean, you could say, how you say the same thing about everything that we do in training. Yes, that's just how it goes. I mean, as always, it depends on the level of the athlete. Like I just mentioned, if you're a beginner, you shouldn't do strength training at all. If you are a Lucy Charles type swimmer, maybe you do it even twice a week, if it makes sense at that point of the season. Okay. My elite pool swimmers usually do it about once a week. Once a week seems about right to me. Okay, the time of the season obviously depends, but I would add the strength session all the way until the end. I think it makes sense. The state of the athlete, mentioned that before, beginner, advanced, and so on. And yeah, then we have a training plan. This is a plan from the So Amazing University membership. This is level 2. Let's walk through it, give you an idea of something that you can maybe swim tomorrow or the day after if you like. 100 warm-up, then we do 3 rounds of 200 fins, 75 freestyle distance per stroke, so long connected freestyle swimming, 25 backstroke, rest 45 seconds, then 2 times 100 snorkel, 1 time swim distance per stroke, 1 time pull distance per stroke. Idea here with the snorkel is that you're really focusing on your head and body position while also putting emphasis on your stroke, on your form. Then the first little strength set. Usually when I do strength, I do 2 sets, 2 short sets instead of 1 long one. Not always, but I would say 8 out of 10 times. So the first one is 8 times 50 with a parachute, rest 30 seconds, 1 time 25, 90%, 25 distance per stroke, 1 time 25, 70%, 25, 80%. Okay, and this might not seem like much, but this is a pretty tough set. Okay, and because it's tough, we do active recovery thereafter. 8 times 100 fins, 20 seconds rest, 1 time 50 zipper drill, 50 distance per stroke, 1 time 25 fly, 25 back, 50 free. That should remove quite a bit of lactate acid. And then we do the other main set, which is 16 times 50 paddles, rest 20 seconds, 1 time distance per stroke, 1 time 80%. 100 loosen, 3,400 meters. Yeah, solid little strength session for you if you don't know what to swim tomorrow. You could do that and probably have a pretty good time doing that. And yeah, if you approach the pool and you want to do this, the main focus is on the pink line and on the orange line. Everything else you swim technically correct in medium intensity, nothing hard. And yeah, those 2 main sets you can go pretty hard on this one. And yeah, this is the content that I have for you today. Like, share, and subscribe would help a ton. Check out SwimAmazingUniversity.com and go train. On SwimAmazingUniversity.com, you can sign up for 1 free week of training. I highly recommend it. Doesn't cost you anything. I think it's going to be a lot of value for you. I mean, this is not just something that I put on there like a PDF that you can download. I think you can take quite a bit home there. I put a lot of work into the Freestyle 101 course where I explain quite in a lot of depth, but I hope easy to understand how to swim freestyle properly. And then I give you some pointers on what equipment you can get, as well as a week of training. I added 3 levels for that. So if you're starting out and you can maybe handle 2K, that's something for you. If you can handle a little bit more, you can do level 2 and level 3 added also. Okay. And as always, now it's time for your questions, and I will do my very best to answer everything that you have. And it really doesn't matter if it is beginner question or advanced question. Whoever stayed with me and watched my stream live, you can ask whatever you like. And if we don't get questions, also good. Then I say thanks for your time and that you watched. And you can also ask questions once the stream is over, and I will answer everything within the comments also. Okay, no questions? No questions, no questions. Size of the pedals. Good question. Thanks, Anya. I think the size of the pedals also depends on the level of the athlete. I always say that once you start out, I think you should start out with a pedal that's around the size of your hand. So this is enough. I think a lot of people go too big. And I think as a rule of thumb, once you buy a smallish pedal to start out with, you can try to increase one size from season to season. So basically every year you try to add one size within reason. If somebody like Anya, for example, now is in her 5th season, I think she should still not go with size 5, which means these pizza plate kind of things that some people swim around with. That's a little bit over the top, but you can certainly add some size once you finish a season and get used to that. And again, maybe while we're all here, once we talk about pedals, I think a recommendation of what pedal to get. I'm a great fan of everything that Tier is putting out there right now. So you could go for the Tier Catalyst Stroke. I think that's a cool pedal. It looks cool and it feels good when you swim with it. And I think you're going to have a good time with that. I would stay away with everything that's fancy looking. And by fancy looking, I mean a pedal should have some holes in it where you can add your rubber band. With your rubber band, you only connect your middle finger to it, not your wrist, because then you get good feedback on if you're doing your stroke properly. And you should stay away from these fancy things where like a thumb is going in, or some that have these little I don't even know how to say that, these bumps on it. Let's keep it simple. Tier Catalyst Stroke. Let me see if I can find a link. I'm going to post it for you also. Tier Catalyst Stroke swim paddles. There they are. I'm going to take the first link that I can find. If this is only a German link, I'm sorry. But if you Google that stuff, you will find this anyways. Okay, so this is the link for the paddles. And this is the first one that I found. I'm not making any money off of this. I just typed it into Google and it's the first one that came up. But these are cool paddles. I think they look good and I think they feel good also. And they're properly built. That's the way a paddle should look. But I will do a extra video on swim equipment in the future. Okay, any more questions? Or are we good? Let me remove this here. Oh no, it's in the picture now. Good. Okay, if you guys don't have any more questions, then I am happy that you took the time and watched my stream. I will be back on Thursday, same time, same place, with short rest sets. Those are good ones. You don't want to miss this stream. These are loved and hated at the same time within our membership, but I think this is one of the very fastest way to get in shape for what lies ahead of you in your triathlon competition. So I would highly recommend either being there live or watching it thereafter. I love these kind of sets. I did them back in the day. All of the things that I do these days is based on the set that I swam under Anthony Nesty. I'm not sure if he wrote the set and was coaching it, or if Coach Troy, who was the head coach back in the day, wrote the set. And Anthony was just executing it as his assistant coach. Be that as it may, it was a great set. It was incredibly challenging, and I was really nervous every Sunday night before I had to go to practice. But man, did we improve. Not just myself, but also Scott Kaufman, who was a national team swimmer for the United States. He swam a 25K at Worlds. And then Ricardo Monasterio, who was guess you could call him a Venezuelan hero, a swimming hero, multiple times Olympian. And yeah, if you ask those boys, we had a good time. It was always very challenging, and I took a lot from that as an athlete way back in the day, and today as a coach. Lots of that stuff is based on that kind of thing. Okay, but I want to thank you for participating and watching, and I will see you on Thursday. 30 minutes and 30 seconds is perfect. 30 minutes is a great time. Okay, thanks for being there, and see you on Thursday. All the best to you. Bye-bye.